Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Isma Azizah, with students number 20220068, and I'm from class A1 2020. And now, I would like to explain about the Code of Ethics for Interpreters. The interpreter's role statement is to deliver, as faithfully as possible, messages transmitted between individuals who don't share a common language.
Resulta para mí un honor estar hoy con
It is an
ustedes
honor
en
for
esta
me to be
cátedra
here with you today at the
en la
lecture
que me
series of the
han
Americas,
antecedido reconocidas
where
personalidades
well-known
que conocen
personalities have
la
spoken from this
importancia del
pulpit.
tema que hoy nos ocupa.
And the interpreter's performance is governed by 8 principles. The first one is accuracy and fidelity. In this first principle has an objective to preservation of the meaning of the message. Interpreters strive to render all messages accurately, as faithfully as possible, with their best ability without addition, distortion, omission, embellishment of the meaning.
Interpreting is an art form. You listen to a message in one language and convey that same message in another language as it's happening with no pauses and mistakes. Well, you can forget about mistakes.
The standards are the interpreters renders all utterances and written communication, advises all parties that everything said will be interpreted, and the interpreters use a mode of interpreting appropriate for the setting. The second one is confidentiality. This ethical principle has an objective to protection of the privacy of all parties and the confidentiality of the information. Interpreters won't disclose and will treat as confidential all information learned, either uttered or written, in the performance of their professional duties, while adhering to relevant requirements regarding disclosure. The standards are the interpreters tell all parties that she or he will respect confidentiality. In this ethical principle, the interpreters must maintain professional boundaries and not giving opinion.
When I was in interpreting school, one of my professors, Christopher Thierry, used to tell us about how actually the good interpreters were well known to never share anything. And even when the press really wanted to know something, they pretty much knew no point in trying to get it out of the interpreters.
The third one is impartiality. Interpreters strive to maintain impartiality by showing no preference or bias. The standards are the interpreters remain impartial at all times. Decline to interpret when the interpreter has a personal or any vested interest in the outcome of the encounter. The interpreters also must decline to interpret when the interpreter's personal or other relationship with any parties may affect.
Do not take preferences toward either part in the interpreting encounter. You're there to interpret, you're not there to be liked, loved, support, and no, you're there only to interpret. Do not take parts.
The next ethical principle is respect for person. Interpreters respect to all parties involved in the interpreted encounter. The standards are the interpreters demonstrates respect for all parties and promotes direct communication among all parties in the interpreted encounter.
Since I've been here, I'm so excited to be back. Thank you for having me.
And then?
Desde hace bastante tiempo que no venía, así que muchísimas gracias por recibirme nuevamente.
The interpreter waits until the speaker pauses
Estamos muy agradecidos de poder colaborar nuevamente con el gobierno de su país.
and then interprets.
We're very happy to be able to collaborate again with the government of your country.
The next ethical principle is that maintenance of role boundaries. Interpreters strive to perform their professional duties within their prescribed role and refrain from personal involvement. The standards are interpreters' role is to enable communication between parties. The interpreters doesn't advocate on behalf of any party. The interpreters doesn't enter into the discussion, give advice, or express personal opinion. And then, the interpreters doesn't perform services other than interpretation. And the interpreters must protect their privacy, well-being, and safety. The next one is accountability. The purpose is to responsibility for the quality of the interpreter's work and accountable to all parties and the organization engaging the interpreter service. The standards are the interpreters identifies and corrects interpretation error as soon as possible. And the interpreters need to maintain his or her role, limits, and obligations.
Impartiality means staying neutral throughout the conversation. Sometimes you may or may not agree with what the speaker says, or you may dislike it. However, as language assistant, we must keep our personal opinion out of the interpreted session and just focus on providing accurate translation.
The next ethical principle is that professionalism. The interpreter's maintenance of professional conduct and comportment. The interpreters at all times act in a professional and ethical manner. The standards are the interpreters performs the duties as good as possible. The interpreters completes the assignment accepted, come on time to the location, and well dressed.
Professionalism. Professionalism refers to the courtesy and respect a language assistant should have during a call. To ensure the quality of the interpretation, we all must speak with respect to any and all parties, maintain a calm voice, and abstain from using profanity. Please speak politely by using phrases such as, "Could you please repeat that? Please speak louder." Being professional also means that you respectfully and politely decline requests that go beyond your capabilities. When you ask one party to repeat or clarify something, please also let the other party know that you just asked for repetition or clarification. As they don't understand each other's language, please help both understand what you're asking the other for.
And the last one is continued competence. And interpreters commit themselves to lifelong learning in recognition that language, individuals, and services evolve and change over times, and a competence and competent interpreters strive to maintain the delivery of quality interpretation. Standards are the interpreters takes available courses and examination to obtain accreditation and or certification. The interpreters maintain skill and knowledge, seek evaluate feedback and practices self-evaluation, and maintains membership in appropriate professional association. So that's all the 8 principles code of ethics for interpreters. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for your great attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.